nation if we don't got the right doctrine, the right information. How we going to teach the other nations? We got to prove it to them. That's right. We got to prove Christ to the peoples. Show peoples this is the real Christ, not the Christ not the Houdini Christ. So they want the David Copperfield Christ. That's what they want. They want the miracles, and they more worried about a ship. They're not. I heard time that ship gonna crack the sky. I was just like, I'll be up in an airplane. It must be another sky or something, dome somewhere. I don't know. How are we gonna be holy when you see in the action? Why are you thinking these Israelites don't never say come to the table? We always tell them. I always tell Bruce. I see them on the that Kermit keyboard type dudes. I tell them come to the table. You know, it's easy to come, man, if you apply the Bible in righteousness, man. If you apply the Bible, you're supposed to do what the Bible say do, not what you want to do.
Facts. And deceivers.
We don't.
Especially they of the circumstances.
These are the people that have been taught, but they just don't understand. They've been taught so wrong. So wrong. All the elders of Israel, you can make this into a TikTok. All the elders of Israel, I sit down with you and talk about a ship. But you're going to have to prove to me. I don't want to hear that, man, that other stuff, man. You know, he ain't listening. That's what the first thing they say. You ain't listening. You ain't trying to listen. Listen, man. Did we come out of Christianity? Why would we want to go back, man? So if we come out of that madness of one West, why would we want to go back? You ain't lying. They doing it, man, just to be seen of man. They doing it just for notoriety. They not doing it for Christ.
I got you.
They be acting like we the bad guy, man, for teaching the truth. That's how the brothers are, man. The whole people, everybody looking. They you know, when you say one body, man, they be like, oh no, man, I don't mess around with them dudes, man. Them dudes there. I heard we was the wickedest camping out of all the camps. Like, GMS talking about raping the girls, and they not the wickedest.
Crazy.
The camp's talking about shit that's not wicked. Let me ask you this. All the cotton field posters that they got on their posters, where did those pictures come from?
Oh.
If the camera wasn't invented almost until after slavery was supposed to have been over, how did they get those pictures? Who was the photographer? And why would people be sitting in a cotton field posing for a picture when you be working? You know, if you didn't get your quarter, you got your back beat in, didn't you? All them hanging pictures, Photoshop pictures. That's how you deceive somebody. They give you an image of a ship and don't tell you where they keep the water, where they keep the food, you know, how they clean the ship. If you've been on a ship a month, they don't, it's all kind of doo-doo down there, man. Somebody going crazy.
I want to give all the praises and the honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Recha Ha Kodash, and double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of Great Millstone. Honors as well to you other elders scattered abroad, you brethren, you fellow believers of this faith, even you few sisters and you supporters of the truth. Shalom as well. Shalom to the hopeful elect. Shalom to the elect. I want to touch on this video with this guy, this elder Jephthah, that's his name. It used to be Jephthah, but now it's Jephthah, I believe. But anyway, yes, I did say, me personally said that he was the worst Israelite group. If you want to call them Israelites at this point, that this is the worst Israelite group on the planet, right? And maybe other brothers may have said so as well, apostles or whatever. But I know I said it, right? And the reason why I said it, well, I think IUIC is the worst. Because they're more Christian-based and they're more deceptive. So they are the worst. And I wouldn't say these guys are the worst, but they are the worst of the worst. Now, the reason why I want to say that, because when you look at this word worse, it just means of more inferior of quality or value or condition. So there's a difference between the word worse and worst with a T on the end, right? So when we go to the word worst, it means most corrupt, bad, evil, or ill, right? Most unfavorable, difficult, unpleasant, or painful. So they probably are the most worst. Probably are the worst, right? But IUIC is the most deceptive. I guess I could say that because they claim to be Christian Israelites, but they adopted some Hebrew, they're Hebrew Israelites who adopted forms of Christianity and kept the whole doctrine or most of Christianity. Now, in this group, they're not Christian, they're not Hebrew, they're what the hell ever, right? So, again, I want to touch on this, on a couple of things he said. This man is just out of control trying to reach a fame base. Also, you'll realize that this Bible, right, this Bible can be used on the left-hand side to completely change a doctrine. This is why the way that and he did say the English language, but the way it was written and the understanding of it is only given to the elect. So this is why you'll have 10 different groups with the same Bible and all different variations. So you just got to make your pick and pray to the Lord that you've come to the right group. I know I did, right? I pray that the Lord has guided me correctly, and I believe to be so. So anyway, we're going to talk about a couple things that this elder Jephthah says. He said, how are we going to rise above all nations if we don't teach them the right doctrine? Well, first of all, the other nations, number one, didn't have the laws, didn't have the doctrines. You can go to Romans, the 9th chapter, and it'll tell you that, right? And ultimately, if it's other nations and they're looking and seeing what we're doing, and let me say to the elect, then they will learn, right? And ultimately, the elect will set up the kingdom under the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua in the house of David, and then the other nations will learn, right? These people are over us. They're those dogs that has licked the sores of Israel, right? So right now, all we're concerned about is waking up the elect. We're not concerned about waking up heathen. Now, if the elect is among the heathen, yes, we're concerned about them, right? So there's a couple things he said. Why can't the Israelites come to the table, right? Basically, why can't we be friends? Like, why can't we come to the table and dap each other and salute and go over the scriptures? Do you know that'll be a waste of time? Let's go to 1 Corinthians 10:21. Ye cannot drink of the cup of the Lord and the cup of devils. There's men in fringes that are devils. Where did he get this from, that every Hebrew Israelite is righteous? That you're going to come together and shake and pound one another, with the fist pound, right? And everything's going to be good. Now, we will respectfully, if we see Sakari come by, they salute us, we salute them back, right? To a degree, because we live in peaceably. They go in and teach, but if they come up, and some of them, they'll come up and listen to us teach, in the hopes the elect will wake up, right? You cannot drink of the cup of the Lord and a cup of devils. You cannot be partakers of the Lord's table and a table of devils. This is just not talking about these groups with the 501c3, right? Because they are partakers of the table of devils, right? We cannot just look at this group and say, okay, he's a righteous group. We're not sitting down. Me personally, I'm not sitting down with this one body, not Yahweh. They don't say Yahweh, one body group. And they are one body amongst one another, right? So at the end of the day, the Lord has set up groups on the left-hand side and teach the Bible the way it is for you to really believe that's what it's saying. Let's go to Second Thessalonians 2:3. It says here, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. This man doesn't believe even this scripture, right? There's no way I could sit at the table with this guy, right? He doesn't believe in the UFOs. He think it's all space-oriented, right? All sci-fi. Do you know the things that's going to happen is going to be a form of sci-fi? But it's not going to be fiction. It's going to be fact. Okay? Who's opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God or that is worshiped, so that he is as God, sitting in the temple of God, right? Shewing himself that he is God. That's why we believe this man been set up as an agent, right? He's sitting up there on the left-hand side as a taskmaster to teach false doctrine. Don't you know in them sci-fi movies where they get a lot of that stuff from? You look at Gene Roddenberry and the things of those names that they named some of the aliens I used to watch in Molac and that Babylon, and they had the names of characters even in the Bible. I can't remember them all, but hey, they was looking at the Bible. Anyway, let me go on down to the point. It says, verse 9, in him whose coming is after the workings of Satan, with all powers and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness and unrighteousness in them that perished, because they receive not the love of truth, that they might be saved. Right? And for this cause Yahweh shall send them strong delusion that they should believe a lie, even with the Bible. This is why I said, as before, you got 10 groups, and all of them have the same Bible, but all of them have different understandings, right? Because it's English, so you got to go to Hebrew, Greek, then you got to go into the nitty-gritty of the scriptures. That they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but have pleasure in unrighteousness. So when you go to Jeremiah 17:5, it says, this is kind of crazy of how all these guys, when they sit up there as men, right, and they want to lead the sheep, the flock, they want people to follow them, right? But then they'll read this scripture, thus saith the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in man. Well, everybody has to follow a man, but you must trust in the Spirit. There is men that set up. Did not Yahushua come as a man? So why would this be here? Did not the apostles, disciples, wasn't there followers of men? Wasn't there followers of Paul, Timothy, and various other men of the Bible? Weren't there followers? Weren't they men? Everybody has to follow. But it's talking about, let's keep reading, and making the flesh his arm, whose heart departed from the Lord. So we can't follow a guy like this. A guy like this is not of the spirit, but of the flesh, right? Because of the spirit, which comes hand in hand with faith, you would believe in a UFO, which we call IFOs. Moses didn't split the sea. All the miracles in the Bible didn't exist in this guy's eyes, you know? That's the mindset of this guy. Now he says, what else did he say? And I said it before, Israelites must come to the table. No. But he goes on to say about where were the pictures. Let's go to Romans 14. Let's go to Romans 14 and 5. See what it says here. Romans 14 and 5. It says, one man esteemeth one day above another, another esteemeth a day alike. Going into Rome, what Paul was dealing with, because you had the non-believing Jews, or you had the believing Jews, and then the Gentiles that came in, and they was believing in different observation of different days, and also with meats, right? This was what Paul was dealing with when you went to the shambles, and that's why he said it's all of the Lord eat anyway, you know, just to cut out the confusion, because there's no way Paul was going to convince a certain amount of these Israelites to go one particular way. So what he was doing was in the hopes that he would convert them, right, and lead them down the path, because nobody just gets it right away, especially somebody who's been doing it a certain amount of time. So that's why he said in the shambles, well, which was all lawful foods, meats, but they were still, some of them were still doing sacrificing. So he would tell them, well, if your brother's there and he sees it, and he tells you a sacrifice for your conscience sake, for his conscience sake, you don't eat it because it's all of the Lord's. But this is still in the hopes that over time that this Jake gets it and won't be worried about sacrifice foods, right? Just to bring that part out. It says, let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind, right? You have to have your own mind to be fully persuaded in. So just as these pictures, he said, where was the cameras before the 1800s? When you look at the pictures of some of the lynchings, and they do got some lynchings of after the 1800s, even in the 1900s, even in the early 1950s, 60s, and 70s, they have pictures of it, men hanging on trees. So why aren't you believing anything in the Bible then? Do you believe Moses was a so-called black man? Do you believe Yahushua was a so-called black man? Do you believe any of the stories that was written in the Bible? Just like when they go to war, in the Vietnam War, you had people that wrote down things. You had artists who paint things. You had people who told stories, and you had sketchers, just like when you go to court. Like, what the heck is this guy talking about? He'll believe in a Christopher Columbus, though. But he doesn't even believe in the slave ships. Although they have, even after the 1800s, they took pictures of even a slave ship that was here in Baltimore. Right? The U.S. Constellation. It was supposedly used to go fight against slave ships coming back and forth the water, but it was one itself. Like, what's wrong with this guy? This is why you had all Renaissance art. Before there was cameras, you had Renaissance art. Okay? And so you would tell a story and it would be painted. This is crazy. This man is not even accepting the fact of his own heritage and what happened to his people. If you follow this man, you're part of the worst of the worst. You know, the Lord gave everything for unanimity. When you look at Revelation 1 and 14, there's no big picture of a black man standing there. It was John the Revelator was describing what the angel of the Lord came to him and what he saw. Right? Just as when they had testimonies of men, you know, in the early 1900s telling you what happened, right? In the 1800s, 1700s, 1600s telling you what happened, how they was lynched and how they was hung and how they hung little boys. Now, if you want to make that argument in the moon and they were showing them legitimate pictures of the moon, well, who was the cameraman shining the picture when Neil Armstrong landed on the moon? Yeah, you got an argument there because those was legitimate video footage. But anyway, this man doesn't have faith. He doesn't believe. His whole mindset is to come against the truth. That's it. That's all I have on that. Shalom.